Prep students, this is Dr. Smith here to talk to you today about economics and how we use economics to talk about where we live. So just in case you're not sure what economics is, it's pretty much the science of how things are bought and sold and how money is moved around. So before we can actually get into it, we first have to talk about the person who buys. Because if you don't have somebody who wants to buy something, you can't really have an economic system. So we first have to talk about what's called the consumer. And the consumer is the person who buys goods and services. And you say, okay, goods and services. What's goods and services? Okay, so goods are different items you can buy. So you have to be able to physically hold it in some kind of way. So that would be things like food and clothes. So you can go to a store and you can actually put your hand on it and say, I want to buy this. So those are goods. But you can also buy and sell services. Let's see, that's better. Services. Services are not like goods. They aren't things that you can hold. They are non-physical things that you can buy. Like lawn mowing services, or if you wanted to get your car wash, or let's say when you go to a bank, you pay or you become a part of the bank for the services that they have. It's your money already, so you're not buying your money. That's what we use to buy things. You're not buying money from them. You're keeping it there, so you can't actually hold what they're doing for you, okay? But it's something that's valuable that you can purchase, or you can have a money value to get, okay? So the person that's buying can buy either goods or services or both, okay? So we do, if in the economic system, having a consumer, that's great. However, if you don't have anything that they want to buy, that's still not very helpful for the economic system. So what the consumer has to have is there has to be a demand. They have to have something you want to buy or need to buy. For example, if somebody's trying to sell me, what's something I know I don't want? Let's say somebody's trying to sell me used towels. That's not going to work. I don't want to use towel. That kind of defeats the purpose for me. So somebody's already used it. So that would not help the economic system. Do not sell used towels. Do not do that. Okay? They have to want to buy it. That's what the customer or the consumer has. They have to have a demand. Now, the seller, the person that's trying to get you to buy something, in order for all of this to work, they have to have a supply. So if I wanted to go buy one gold, 100% gold bar, and I want it for 1 cent, am I going to get it? First of all, does anybody even have that around here? I'm not certain they do. So you have to have a supply. And that comes from the seller. That's the amount of something for people to buy. So let's think about our area, okay? Wilmington. Now, if we go over to the map, if you were with me for the last segment of the very first segment I did of geography, where we talked about the map, we did a little bit on this. Well, if you look over here in orange, I have a couple of cities that have been marked, and Wilmington is right here. Now, what is it that we have a lot of? It's a natural resource, something that was here, we didn't grow it, it was just here. That would be water. So, of course, one of the things that we have a lot of that people that aren't around water, they don't have, is fresh seafood. Not just frozen or anything like that, but fresh seafood, meaning it was caught recently. We have that. So, wouldn't it make sense that somebody would say, hey, we have all this fresh seafood here. Now, somebody's got to want this seafood. It's fresh seafood. We have plenty. So we have a large amount of it. That would be our supply. So somebody at some point in time says, you know what, this could be a good business. You know, we have a lot of it. Somebody wants it. People have to eat. So they get a company where they catch the seafood and they sell it to restaurants, to individuals, and to other companies, people farther away even, and they can make good money. So now you have other people saying, yeah, that's a good idea. After the first person, yeah, that's really good, because there are people that want fresh seafood. And so now you have more sellers that want to get in on it because they want to make money too, right? We have plenty of it. Now, think about it in these terms. Let's step away from Wilmington for a minute. What if it was somewhere that had a huge oil supply? Don't they usually have oil companies where there's a lot of oil? And then you have other companies that want to sell oil. Once you get the first one, you have a second one and a third one, because they're saying everybody needs oil. We have cars, we have all these things that need oil, right? So step back to Wilmington. That's how it is with us and fresh seafood. Okay, so now let's talk about all of the people in the area that are going to sell seafood, fresh seafood, because we have a large supply. Now, what if these sellers say, well, maybe we should sell it for $50 for each pound? That's the abbreviation for pound. For each pound, what do you think consumers are going to think, the people that are buying? Especially if you live right here. Right now is the time to talk to your parents if they're there, or you can ask them the question, would you buy a pound of seafood for $50? I'm thinking your parents are going to say no. So they're going to say, you know what, I can just catch my own. We live right here. And they'll get their own. So then the seller says, okay, that's not going over so well. Because even the restaurants and the other companies, different places, aren't really wanting to buy. So then they said, so maybe we should try $25 a pound. What do you think locals are going to say? Now, I think they'll still try and get their own. They may go and try and catch their own. However, you may have some tourists or visitors you may have tourists from somewhere that live in a place where they cannot get fresh seafood, and they're on vacation, and they have brought their money to spend. And so they may say, okay, I'll do this. But how much seafood do you think they're going to buy for $25 a pound? Let's say that one family will buy a pound, I'll say 1 to 2 times. Now that only gives the seller $25 to $50. And I guess they could have made some money. But they're thinking, how can I get the locals to get in on this? We want them too. Plus, we didn't get many tourists, many of our visitors that got the seafood. So now they said, well, what if we lower the price to $12.50 per pound? Do you think the locals might buy it? What do you think, locals? You know, I'm a local, so I might buy it. Let's say the locals, let's see where we can put the locals. We'll put them over here. Let's say the locals buy 1 time. Awesome. Now you got $12.50 that you've made for 1 local. All right, so the tourists are like $12.50. And they buy 10 times. How much is that? That's $125. So at $125 plus $12.50, they've done a lot better. So they like this price, right? But what if they say, you know what? I wonder how much more we can charge and have the tourists. What if we just during the times when tourists come in more, raise the price a little bit? So what if they decide, let's see how $17.50 works. What if they still get 10 times the people? So they went from the tourist $125 to $175. They didn't do anything different. Only thing they did was raise the price. So they found, I made $50 more. So this is how they make more money. Okay? Now, what if sometime during the tourist season, we have a huge storm and something happens to the water and let's say half the supply of the fresh seafood is not where people can actually consume it, so they can't sell it to people. So now they change the supply. What does that mean? So the storm decreased the amount of seafood by half. So what does that mean? If you have half the supply, what are they going to do now? Well, they already, at this price, there weren't really any locals that were buying it, but would locals buy it now? Because what if we're used to getting seafood? What if we can't go catch our own? You know what? Me personally, I probably would do without it. But maybe everybody gets together and buys some and get a little bit. So, you know, you can't really count on that. But let's say right after that you have some locals that come in. I mean, some tourists that come in, some visitors. And we do have some fresh seafood. So do you think the seller is going to still stick with $17.50? Because now they can't make as much money because they don't have as much seafood. Here's what happens. When there's not as much of the supply, but people still want it, and they're willing to pay for it, they're going to increase the price. So now, seafood has a price that goes up. And that's just so they can try and get close to where they usually make the same amount of money. And this is how money is moved around using buyers and sellers. You have to want something in order for a seller to be able to sell it to you and get some money for it. But you have to remember that where you live can affect how much you're going to pay and how much the supply that you have of that particular good. So I ask you, if we compared the supply that you would have of fresh seafood in Wilmington and in Raleigh, who do you think would have the largest supply, the largest amount of fresh seafood? I'm hoping that you're saying Raleigh, because they don't really have any beaches or anything around in that area. They might have a lake, but that's definitely not the same, okay? Now, if they did not have a supply, do you think they would want seafood more though? I think they would, because when you don't get certain foods, you're like, man, I would really like some of this or that. So they become our visitors, our tourists, and they pay a little bit more when they come to us a lot of times, okay? And if somebody in the area does manage somehow to get fresh seafood in Raleigh, North Carolina, do you think their prices are going to be the same as ours? You know what? I might even say, if they have fresh seafood and they are one of the few people that have it, they may just charge a lot more for it, okay? Because it's in high demand. People really want it and they can't get it, okay? So they can charge more. So you have to think about these things, okay? Think about this when, for example, if you are thinking, I want to start a little business. Maybe some people have paper routes and things, but maybe you want to start a little business. You know, people have lemonade stands. So maybe you want to have a lemonade stand. You need to think about who wants lemonade. When's the best time to sell lemonade, okay? So those types of things. So what I encourage you to do is with your family, this is a great, or family, friends, a group of people, get together and think about the goods and services that you feel that Wilmington has a lot of, okay? And then I want you to think about, you know, how these things are being sold are affected when we have storms, when certain things happen in the area. Think about different ways that it can affect the price or how much you even want a certain good or service, okay? And then once you do that, you make your list and you go through all of that, then do the research, get on the internet and look up Wilmington and see the things that they say that we have a lot of, what things we sell the most, what people come for, okay? That will be awesome. That's a great way to get started if you want to consider even having a business or a lemonade stand. Maybe you have some kind of drink, or maybe there's a snack that you make or something and you want to sell it. Schools have bake sales, so whatever it is you want to do, you can always use economics to help you be able to sell it better, okay? All right, well, I hope you really got something out of this, and I hope you really will do the search after getting with your family. But until we meet again, please remember that it's important to exercise your mind as well as your body, and I look forward to talking to you soon.